Mr. Speaker, the bill at hand is very historic. It's an extraordinary bill, Mr. Speaker, and this can be demonstrated from the attendance in the House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before 2 o'clock, we already had a quorum in this House. This is to tell you, Mr. Speaker, how serious this bill is, and if it's possible, Mr. Speaker, we can extend it even up to next week so that members can have time, Mr. Speaker, to deliberate on this matter. I know their constituents, wherever they are watching, and they want to hear, so that when time comes to check the Hansard, people of Kiminini will want to know what the MP said. People of Kisumu, my brother here of Homa Bay Town. Mr. Speaker, as I move forward, one of the critical things that I want to say, I want to quote the famous words from the great Pan-Africanist, Kwame Nkrumah. Kwame Nkrumah was the first president of Ghana, Mr. Speaker, and this is what he said, that first seek ye the political kingdom, then the economic kingdom will follow. Part of this bill, Mr. Speaker, is going to focus heavily and solve the issues which are political. I have no doubt, Mr. Speaker, if political issues are sorted out, the economic issues will be following. Mr. Speaker, the same Kwame Nkrumah said this, that the forces that unite us are intrinsic and greater than superimposed forces that keep us apart. We must unite. Mr. Speaker, as a House, this bill, when you look at it, Mr. Speaker, the great proposals that are here is that Cabinet Secretaries will come from the floor of this House. At the moment, Mr. Speaker, we are experiencing the presidential system. And when you look at some of the democracies that have grown, for instance, Mr. Speaker, look at Singapore. Singapore has been on a parliamentary system. And when you look at this bill, Mr. Speaker, it is proposing a hybrid governance system, Mr. Speaker, whereby we are going to have Cabinet Secretaries from the floor of this House. And I have no doubt, the brains we have here today, Mr. Speaker, some of them, if God willing, they come back, they are going to be Cabinet Secretaries. Mr. Speaker, the bill also talks about the provision for the assistant cabinet ministers, Mr. Speaker. And I have no doubt that those who will not be able to get Cabinet Secretaries, maybe they'll be the deputy secretaries. And it will go a long way, Mr. Speaker, in terms of the problem of inclusivity. It will resolve that issue of inclusivity. When it comes to issues of representation, Mr. Speaker, on this House, some of us have been raising questions. The Cabinet Secretaries has been a big problem for them to attend, to come and to this House and answer questions of members of Parliament who are the representatives of the people. And as Article 1 of the Constitution says, that the sovereignty belongs to the people. It can be exercised directly by the people or through their democratically elected leaders who are seated here today. We've been so frustrated. Many times we've raised issues of insecurity in where I come from. Up to now, 6 months down the line, it's never been answered. These Cabinet Secretaries, when time comes, they don't show up. But this is the time now when we have them on the floor of the House, we'll be working as colleagues. Some of the issues that take like 1 month to solve, it will now be shortened, Mr. Speaker, to even a week or 1 day. So this is going to be a big plus, Mr. Speaker, to the members of Parliament who are here today. Mr. Speaker, one of the proposals is about the increase of shareable revenue from 15% to 35%. This is a big plus. Others have argued, Mr. Speaker, that the money that has been going to the counties is almost there. But it was not anchored in the law. But right now that is now anchored, that 35% will be going to the counties. This is one thing you can be assured that we are going to have development, Mr. Speaker, at the counties. It's been argued, Mr. Speaker, that resources follow functions. And when you look at Schedule 4 of the Constitution, so many functions have gone to the county. But there was a complaint that resources have not followed. So this bill is coming to resolve the problem by increasing the resources, Mr. Speaker, that are going to follow those functions at the county level. So we don't expect these issues of maybe lack of resources. The governors have to operate, Mr. Speaker. This is the time we don't expect any excuse from them, Mr. Speaker. And it goes without saying, even the CECs, the ward represents the MCS, Mr. Speaker, this bill is good for them. We are going to have the county executives coming from the county assemblies, Mr. Speaker. And maybe it's the highest time we need to know how to harmonize the issues of what was passed in the Elections Act as far as the academic qualifications are concerned. I had sent by the great MCS from my region, Mr. Speaker, and it's on your desk. Maybe this House will decide, because the Constitution is very clear that this House will decide the academic qualification of the MCS and even the members of Parliament, Mr. Speaker. And as time go by, we only have 14 months. We already have 14 months of general election, Mr. Speaker. I know there are those who are at the universities, unfortunately, because of corona pandemic, maybe they have not finished, but we wish them well, Mr. Speaker, as we move forward. But it is important that this hybrid system is the best way to go. Mr. Speaker, everywhere you go, the only development that can be realized in every small village in this country, it is CDF. CDF is the only fund, you find it everywhere, Mr. Speaker. You don't have to be in government. You don't have to be in line with the governor. CDF is assured. But what is this happening, Mr. Speaker, the CDF? This is the first time that CDF is being anchored in the law. We've gone through courts of law. We've suffered so much, Mr. Speaker. Some of the judges, they don't know the importance of this CDF. Some families, Mr. Speaker, who have been orphans, poor families, have gone to school because of CDF. If you come to Kiminini constituency, Mr. Speaker, I've put story buildings. I've improved the education infrastructure because of CDF. CDF has done wonders, Mr. Speaker. But now that has been anchored in the law, the busybodies in the streets who have been running all over, that they want to stop CDF, their days are numbered. With us passing this, Mr. Speaker, we are assured of the CDF, your people will continue getting CDF, Mr. Speaker, where you don't need any favor from anybody. Mr. Speaker, there is further devolution. The smallest unit of devolution, Mr. Speaker, is the ward. The Ward Development Fund, Mr. Speaker, has actually been proposed in this proposal. The MCS, wherever you are, there will be Ward Development Fund that will be determined by the people of that particular village. If you want a small dispensary or something to do that road, Mr. Speaker, there is Ward Development Fund. What else do you want, honorable members? If these funds are going up to the ward level, assurance of the development, what else do we expect, Mr. Speaker? The document, of course, cannot be 100%, but it's more than 50%, Mr. Speaker. I'm urging the honorable members who are here today that if you want to be assured of the development, this document, Mr. Speaker, has all the solution. It might not be the best, but it has the solution, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as we move forward, I want to discuss briefly, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of the Senate. We've had a lot of sibling rivalry with the Senate, Mr. Speaker. The sibling rivalry is no more. And from this document, it demonstrates clearly the National Assembly is going to be the upper house, Mr. Speaker, because the executive is going to sit here. That is on my own interpretation. You can interpret it differently. But we are going to have Cabinet Secretaries sitting here. We are going to have the Prime Minister sitting here, Mr. Speaker. So it goes without saying. That's why we are going to have a hybrid system of government, Mr. Speaker. And with the executive sitting here, Mr. Speaker, there's no way you can vet our own Cabinet Secretaries. And we do support that, because they're going to sit in this house. Anything that needs parliamentary, public appointment, parliamentary approval, it has gone to the Senate, Mr. Speaker. I know some of the people who are here, you might want to go to the Senate. If you go to the Senate, God willing, you will have all the vetting powers. One of the contentious issues, Mr. Speaker, is the ombudsman. This ombudsman will be vetted by the Senate. Those of you who will go to the Senate, God willing, please be firm, so that the independence of judiciary cannot be tampered with, Mr. Speaker. We don't want to go to the old days. However, in this document, Mr. Speaker, if you go to clause 43, particularly, Mr. Speaker, this is where some of us we have issues. The independence of judiciary should not be compromised. And here it says that the judiciary receive complaints against judges, investigate, discipline the judges by warning, reprimanding, or suspending a judge. Mr. Speaker, in our current constitution, there's a right to be heard. A complaint is there, a tribunal will be set, and the respective judge has to appear before that respective tribunal for him to be heard. We strongly feel it was unfair here, Mr. Speaker, because we are not seeing an opportunity to be heard. You can have some people who are very malicious, Mr. Speaker, to come up with an excuse or a complaint which is not justifiable. So maybe as time goes by, Mr. Speaker, because I was looking at the enabling legislations which will come after 1 year, maybe at that particular time, when we'll be amending, maybe when you operationalize this, we need to be very clear on how to guard the independence of the judiciary, so that when the ombudsman comes there, Mr. Speaker, should not be somebody, conflicts of interest, or coming there to bring, to interfere with the independence of judiciary. Mr. Speaker, another critical issue is about the issue of boundaries. The issue of the constituency, Mr. Speaker. I come from Trans Nzoia, Mr. Speaker. Many members of parliament who are here today. We have some constituencies, Mr. Speaker, with 8 wards. We have other constituencies, Mr. Speaker, with 3 wards. When it comes to CDF, you get the same amount of money, Mr. Speaker. That is not equity. That is not equity at all. Equity means you must get your rightful share. And Honorable Celias was trying to come up with a law. It is very, very unfair. A constituency with a high population, and you're getting same amount. And when you look at the Article 89 of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, it says that boundaries should be reviewed not less than 8 years, but not more than 12 years. Since the 2010 Constitution, actually it's the right time. The BBI did well to propose, but they should not have proposed, Mr. Speaker, where those constituencies will be domiciled. This is the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. And my humble request as we move forward, this is the work of IBC. IBC is the one responsible when it comes to matters of delimitation of boundaries. And I'm happy that this was picked out, because I represent 40 Kenya, Mr. Speaker, and I presented this to the Secretariat. And when you look at this document, you can see 40 Kenya has heavily been quoted and cited, because as a party, we belong strongly that IBC is the one responsible for the delimitation of boundaries. It is good. Many people have talked about Nyeri, Mr. Speaker, that they have not had extra constituencies. When you go to Nyeri, there are so many protected constituencies like Odaya, like Mukurweini, Mr. Speaker, but other areas, we don't have those protected constituencies. So this one is a give and take. It is an issue, Mr. Speaker, that we must be able to balance. When it comes to Trans Nzoia, we are supposed to have new 3 constituencies. But I thank God we've gotten the 2, so we received the 2, but we will demand for more when that time comes, Mr. Speaker. I'm humbly requesting for honorable members here today, let's look at the objectivity of this document. This is not a house